Hello everybody, and welcome to this edition of Mr. J's Geek Corner. Place we talk about anything and everything that is geek, whether it be TV, comics, movies, and video game. Today I'm gonna discuss a topic that's just fun, just a good fun topic. Doesn't have anything to do with any comic headlines or anything. I've sit around trying to think of ideas and everything, and I thought why don't I come up with a list of some of the worst superheroes that have ever been conceived in comics. And of course, I got to thinking. I thought, well, there's more than just comic book superheroes. So I decided to come up with a list. So I kind of expanded upon that list of where other websites have done worst comic book superheroes ever invented and everything, but none have really expanded into the world of not just comics, but also cartoons and television and movies. So I've compiled a list of the top 10 worst superheroes, period, of all time. And I'm going to just tell you, I've run across a lot of horrible heroes making this list. So I'm going to say, and there's some winners on here. So here's my list of the top 10 worst superheroes ever created. And I'll just start off by saying first of all, the images you see and the names of these characters belong solely to DC, Marvel, whoever owns these characters. So don't get mad at me. I said that don't belong to me. They belong to them. So don't get mad at me. but let's start. I'm gonna start off with number 10 is actually a tie between two different characters. First of all, which is a character from Marvel Comics, which to me is just a horrible idea from right from the start. This is NFL Super Pro, and as you can see, he's definitely he's a football themed superhero. I don't know of any of his powers right off the bat, but I'm gonna just say he's terrible. Why would you do this? Is back, and I might as well say this is probably back when they came up and tried to theme a villain after theme a hero after anything. It was a gimmick. I mean, they've tried to team almost like trying to team DC with like NASCAR and Craftsman, which happened. And I said just various. A lot of these that you'll see on here are gimmicks. They're crossed with different corporations and stuff. At least a couple of them on here are, and like I said, they just come out terrible. I mean, they look cool, but they just are a terrible idea. I mean, he's football based. All he probably has is I don't know any of his powers right offhand, but the way I read it was just he's just terrible. He's lame. I mean, he's just football. He's just a football based superhero. It's like taking there's a character. There was a show in my area used to come on. I think still comes on called Football Friday, and they had a mascot called Football Friday. Man, it's like if you took him and made him into a superhero. I mean, a legitimate comic book hero. It's the same thing. It's just lame, and it's just I don't even know how this guy sold. I mean, it's obviously he didn't sell that well because the comic ain't around anymore except in back issue bins and antique stores. So I said that's why it made number 10 on this. He's terrible, but he's not as bad as what's to come. Let me tell you. And also number 10 on my list is the second one, is the one that tied with it. The member of DC's Legion of Superheroes, Infectious Lass. I almost don't even need to explain, but I'll explain a little bit. She basically is just, her power is that she's incredibly contagious. She has she can spread disease. I'm going to say it, that's not a superpower. That's making you a walking quarantine zone. That's not a superpower. And yet, she's not a member of the Legion, but she's a member of the Legion of Substitute Heroes. She's the or they call them in their subs. She's not. I say she's a part of the Legion of Substitute Heroes, like with ones like Stone Boy, Color Kid, Porcupine Pete, ones like that. They're basically just the misfits of the Legion. They're like their own little group. And I said to me, that's not now. I said nowadays that doesn't make you a superhero. That makes you a villain almost. That makes you a danger to society. I mean, it's just that's not a good. I don't know how they thought that was honestly a good idea, but it just was not. It was just terrible, and that's why it made it number 10 on my list. But as it's still not as bad as some of the others on this list. And number 9 on my list is another one of the gimmick ones I was talking about. This comes from a collaboration of Marvel Comics and the Florida Citrus Association. This is Citrus Man. And I'm going to say, the picture you see here, that is the revamp. That's the revamped version of Citrus Man. Used to, I think Citrus Man was just an orange with a cape. That's right, he's just orange with a cape. And this guy is actually more orange juice based. It has more citrus based powers. But the way I've heard the description actually makes him kind of cool. But still, I say it's lame, and he's one of the worst superheroes. He's a gimmick. I mean, for crying out loud, they've got him teaming with the he's teaming with the Avengers. I was like, you've never heard of this Joker before in your life, and he's teaming with the Avengers. And what it is, it's every bit as lame as any lame gimmick-based hero is. Everything's got to do with orange juice and citrus and all that stuff. Orange and citrus and orange juice and all that stuff. He's every bit the gimmick that he is. And it's just, that's what makes him so lame, even though he looks and sounds so cool. That's what makes him so lame. He's just a gimmick. And to me, that's why he's on this list. It's just, he's just lame. I mean, they could take that design and make it so much better, but they gave him some cool powers. But it's still based around the whole orange juice gimmick. But they've given him some, but still, he could potentially be a cool hero with a different name and a different gimmick. You might as well say. But since he's the product of the Florida Citrus Association, that's what he's stuck with, and that's why he's number 9. And number 8 on my list is one from my childhood. He had a comic book series, but only after he had a cartoon series. And I'm gonna say it. This is just one of the there's people who remember it fondly, and yet there's people that just look back on it and they face palm and they're like, "How did I ever like this? And how was this ever cool?" And that is Captain Planet and the Planeteers. I'm going to say it right now. I'm one of those people that's like, how was this ever a thing? It's nothing but just, it was back when everybody was so well, it was back, it was a creation of Ted Turner. This was actually a creation of Ted Turner. He basically just everybody, they're trying to get kids more into recycling and saving the environment and all that jazz. And what did they do? Invent a hero where that's all it is. It's just a clean up the earth message, thinly guised in a superhero show. And you got somebody here that's essentially Superman. Essentially, they have power. The whole thing with them is there's nothing wrong with them themselves. It's just they've got cool powers. They got powers they can rule their earth with. For goodness sake. Earth, fire, wind, and water. You could rule humanity with those powers. But instead of doing that, they use them for what they're meant for, and that is helping to clean up the earth and save the earth. Which is a noble sentiment. And then when they join them together, they summon this guy that's essentially summons Superman out of their rings. I will say one thing that is kind of lame is the power they're given to the kid Makee. Heart. I mean, there's another. There's another YouTuber on there named Jenna Marbles. And she actually brought this up in one of her videos of what she learned from kid shows, and she talked about how lame that how he basically got the short end of the stick when he got the power of heart. But really, it's supposed to be. I don't really know how that's supposed to work. But still, you have all these other kids that got these super destructive powers and cool powers, and he's stuck with the power of heart. To me, that's lame. But essentially, they join their powers together, and you've got Superman, essentially, in a horrible costume. I mean, I'm going to just start off by saying, you could have made him look way better than that. Green mullet, which mullets were all the rage back then anyway. They still maintain this day. They were so cool they gave one to Superman, which I maintain that Superman did not have a mullet, but that's for another day. But I said, you give him a stereotypical mullet. Basically, he ain't wearing a costume. Any semblance of a costume is like a pair of boots, a pair of gloves, a pair of trunks, and these things on his shoulders that essentially make it looks like the globe on his chest. But essentially, he ain't got no costume. That's him. He's almost glass-skinned, is the way he looks. But he has all this incredible power. And yet he comes out looking so lame. And also the fact that his weakness is not anything like kryptonite or magic or anything. All you got to do is splash some radioactive sludge or some dirty water or something on him. Oh, he's so weak and everything. How stupid is that? I mean, I get it that, he's supposed to represent clean environment, clean earth, all that mess. But you put pollutants on him, and it basically just doesn't like Superman does to kryptonite. Superman can you throw radioactive sludge on him, most of it do is they're about to melt his suit off. But he keeps coming at you. With this guy, you throw radioactive sludge on him, it's like throwing radioactive sludge on a human being. It might kill him. In comics. I said, it's like throwing radioactive sludge or polluted water on somebody. It would make a person sick in real life. It makes him sick too. You throw like radioactive waste or some kind of or polluted water or spraying with smoke. You're spraying with smoke, heating with smoke from a smokestack, and all of a sudden, weak as a kitten. For goodness sake, that is stupid. I mean, all you need with Superman, you need to pay gazillions of dollars for a little green rock or years of study in the mystic arts. With this guy, all you need is a bonfire. All you need to do is mix up some hazardous chemicals and some water in a bucket and throw it on him. All you need is like a few dollars to throw some hazardous chemicals on him. How lame is that? And also, these kids, whenever they summon Captain Planet, their rings are useless. They have no power. Because when they join their powers together, the rings are nothing but a little trinket on their hand. And if they ain't got their powers, they're nothing. They're nothing but a bunch of kids. And it's just... It's just super, super lame and horrible premise. And I say it can make it a lot better, but and I've heard they're trying to make a movie out of this. It's never made it off the ground, but I think that's for the best, to tell you the truth. But as I said, that's why that's made on number 8 on my list. It's just terrible. It's just a horrible show. It was I look back at it, it's a horrible show and a horrible hero. It's just, and all it is just try to get you to recycle and clean up and all that stuff. And it's just, like I said, it's just lame, and that's why it made on my list. Number 7 is one that a lot of folks would definitely agree on, and I know y'all remember back in the day, the Super Friends. And you had Superman, Batman, Aquaman, Wonder Woman, Robin, and then you had all these other made-up heroes like Apache Chief and the Wonder Twins, and their revamped version of Black Lightning, in which they call him Black Vulcan. I'm gonna say, not only of them are bad heroes, and I'm gonna say even one half of the Wonder Twins, Jan, is actually pretty useful in that she transforms into animals. But number 7 on my list is the other half of the Wonder Twins, Zan. While her sister has a cool power in which she could turn into eagles and tigers and dragons and anything, all he can do is turn into water-based stuff. And the one thing that comes to mind immediately is that he turns into a bucket of water. They've even made fun of this about 14 years ago, on Cartoon Network. They had ads that made fun of this when they used to show Super Friends. They had ads that made fun of him turning into a bucket of water because of how lame it was. What is that? I mean, probably the best interpretation of the Wonder Twins I've ever seen is probably on JLU and Smallville. On JLU, I forget their version. I might as well say their revamped version of the Wonder Twin of Zan was Downspout, and they could do more than just turn into water. They didn't ever turn into a bucket of water. They turned into tidal waves and water spouts and all sorts of stuff that was water based. And as for the way Zan was on Smallville, it was Zan and Jan, the Wonder Twins. Zan could actually turn into fog, which actually came in useful in the episode they appeared in which they obscured Clark showing his powers. It was actually it was more than just water. It could actually turn. It was anything water based. It's like fog or anything, mist or anything like that. But in that version, turning into a bucket of water, seriously, that is just the lamest thing. I mean, that's why Zan made on my list on my list. It's just made it to 7 on my list. I mean, Zan is just terrible. It's just a terrible hero. And how in the world whoever come up with this idea, it was terrible, horrible idea. And number 6 on my list is one that is not exactly a fan favorite in DC, whether it be in the classic his classic 90s version or his new 52 iteration. He's still not a popular hero, and that is Vibe. If you can see him there, that is Vibe. I didn't bring up New 52 because I'm gonna say it. This is strictly you won't see anything New 52 on this show. Because my show, as y'all know, my show is a no New 52 zone. I'm going to officially declare it right now. It's a no New 52 zone. You're not going to see anything New 52 here. So, so I'm not going to show you anything New 52 on this show because it's just terrible. But I'm going to say it, Vibe is just a terrible character. I mean, I don't know any of his powers, and from the way I heard folks they call him a stereotype and all that stuff, but I'm not going to go into that. But he's just all around a not popular character, and he's just, I don't even know why New 52 brought him in, of course. New 52 is a horrible idea anyway, so why not compile the horrible ideas? As I said, he's just a terrible character, and that's why he made it number 6 on my list of terrible character of the worst superheroes ever. Number 5 on my list is one that's very, very obscure. I didn't know about him until I started making this list. But I actually thought he has a pretty interesting costume. But he is a lame superhero. And he looks more like a villain, to tell you the truth. His name is... let me bring up the picture a little bit better. The Almighty Dollar. That's what his name is. You see, the suit looks okay. It's a pretty cool looking suit. But he's just a lame hero. Why? His superpower, he shoots pennies from his hand, from his fingertips. He shoots pennies from his fingertips. What kind of a power is that? You could kill people with that. It's just shooting pennies from your hand, unless they just bounce off of you and just bombard you to the point where you surrender. That still sounds lame, but still, that's more. But if you shoot them thing hard enough, it'd be just as bad as a bullet. You might as well say you're a walking weapon. And to tell you the truth, more matches would be in the villain, even though even that category would be lame too. But he don't seem to superhero. To me, is another horrible idea. It's just terrible, and that's why he's number 5 on my list. It's just a horrible idea, and he's just a horrible hero, and ain't no wonder he faded into obscurity. And number 4 on my list might cause a little bit of fury amongst the fans, but I'm gonna just say this: I didn't even like this character on the TV show or in the comics. And who knows what's happened to this character lately, because I have not heard hide nor care out of this character, and that is from X-Men, Jubilee. All she does essentially is shoot fireworks out of her hands. And in the TV show, she won't number one of them rambunctious teenage types, always getting in trouble, and I said she's always always gets herself into trouble, and she just can't. I said all she does is shoot fireworks out of her hands. How's that incredibly useful power? Except for maybe use it for distractions. You're like a chaff grenade, but still, that's supposed to be almost like a legitimate power. I'm sorry, but there's nothing there. Why was this character even in X-Men? I wonder. A backup character, maybe, but not a primary player. No. And for why she was on the show, who knows? But either way, she's just the worst. One of the worst X-Men members there is. And number 3 is another character. I mentioned him before when I was talking about Infectious Lass. He is a member of the Legion of Substitute Heroes. Color Kid. This nearby takes the cake in terms of lame characters. All he can do is change the colors of... All he can do is just change colors. That's all he can do. All he can do is change colors. Not of himself, but everything else. All he does is shoot color out of his hands and change. Like, if he was to shoot me with his beam, he could turn me green, he could turn me blue, he could turn me orange or red or black or brown, anything. He could change you to any color, and it's just that's not a power. That's not a useful power to me. I mean, it's just not. I mean, it might be cool if you want your food to be a different color, your drink to be a different color, but not to fight crime with. No. It's just terrible. And ain't no wonder he wound up on the Legion of Substitute Heroes. So, I say it's just a horrible, horrible character. And number 2 on my list is a show from way back in the day. Some are fans of this show. Some are like me that cannot stand this just from seeing the opening title sequences. It just turns my stomach and embarrasses me. And that is The Greatest American Hero. I'm going to say it, the costume looks cool, but the premise of the whole show is a comedy. Might as well say probably a Peter Parker type, finds a suit, pardon me, finds an alien suit that gives him superpowers, but he doesn't know how to use it. And most of the time when he takes off flying in the sky, he's tumbling all over the place, screaming at the top of his lungs, don't know how to use the thing. And I'm like, how did this show even last a season? And that's how long it lasted. How did this show even get on the air? It's terrible. And I've heard they're actually trying to make a movie out of this too. I was like, what? Do they want a superhero movie they can laugh at? Or this hero's a joke? Come on. I mean, it's just... it boggles my mind how in the world this even got past the idea pitching process. Because it's a terrible idea for a show. To me, when you think Greatest American Hero, you think of somebody that's like an old war vet that's somehow got superpowers, and they're still fighting on. Even in their old age, they're still fighting on. Not some curly-headed, mullet-sporting dweeb in an alien suit tumbling all through the skies, not screaming at the top of his lungs, not knowing how to use his power. It's just terrible. And to me, it embarrasses me because I was like, oh. It's just embarrassing to watch. I mean, it's just a terrible show. It's a terrible, terrible show, terrible character, and it should be locked up in a vault somewhere and never viewed again. And that's why it made it to number 2 on my list. And finally, number 1 on my list is actually a tie between 2 heroes. I mean, 2 different heroes. Hold on a second, let me bring it up. First of the number 1s on my list is... Oops, sorry. And first number 1 on my list is from a movie, the movie Megamind. And is the main. It's supposed to start out as the protagonist in the movie. The main hero in the movie Megamind, which was Megamind's foe, and he's none other than Metro Man. To me, I'm gonna say he looks like the ideal hero. He looks like Superman. He looks like, as you can see, he's supposed to be a parody of Superman. He has all the powers of Superman, can do anything. He is Superman, essentially. He is Superman, but flashier. And to me, that's not how you're supposed to really look unless you're trying to be an attention getter. Unless you're about somebody like Booster Gold, trying to look all flashy and just trying to get attention, doing it to get attention and get adoration and get popular and stuff like that. But he ends up, essentially, they show in the whole movie that's his only villain is Megamind. And that's all his career is just essentially maybe stopping a bank robbery and doing all this stuff and just most of the time it's just stopping Megamind. And to me, you gotta have other things you do. You gotta like stop bank robberies or rescue cats from trees, which is just a big stereotype. Rescue folks, rescue from disasters, stuff like that. But where I say he's a horrible hero, other than being just a straight up arrogant egotist, which you see in the main sequence where he's walking on water and people are kissing his feet and everything, you can see the ego. And I'm gonna say it, and he winds up dead, supposedly dead. But later on in the movie, they go hunt, go looking in the fortress, his fortress, for anything they might use to stop the hero that Megamind created. Well, who should they find in the fortress but Metro Man? And here's what makes him a horrible hero. He leaves it all behind. He decides in his mind that he's like, this charade has become so silly and drawn and played out over the years that he's like, he's just gotten sick and tired of it. And he has right in the middle of a fight, he has a midlife crisis. Essentially. He has a midlife crisis right in the middle of a fight between him and Megamind. And he just speeds off and starts reading all these self-help books and drinking soda and flying a kite and starts thinking. And he suddenly comes up with this brilliant idea to fake his death. So he fakes his death and becomes a hermit. And essentially becomes so selfish. I mean, Superman did something similar in the comics and whatever happened to Man of Tomorrow. But by that time, all the villains had been. But the difference is, by that he wanted a life. He's getting tired of being Superman, and wanted to spend the rest of his life with Lois Lane. And the last villain I think they had him defeat was Brainiac. So he defeats Brainiac. I think that was the last villain that still was at large was Brainiac. I think all of them had either died or retired or have been put and locked up permanently in prison. And the last one was Brainiac. And I think he essentially finally defeats Brainiac. He finally defeats Brainiac, then goes into a chamber filled with gold kryptonite in his fortress and wipes his powers out. He strips himself permanently of his superpowers and then makes it look like that he died in glorious battle with Brainiac. That he died along with Brainiac. He essentially destroyed Brainiac and made it look like he went down in battle with him. To me, that was more noble than what Metro Man did. At least he was what he was. It sounds like Superman was being selfish, but what he wanted was to spend the rest of his life with the woman that he loved, but he could never do it because he was Superman. And it was getting pretty much to the end of his career anyway, because as I said, the only villain he had was Brainiac. And essentially he defeated Brainiac, but at the same time he pulled something where it looked like Superman died in battle with Brainiac. Where it looked like when Brainiac went down, so did Superman. They both died in battle. And in the end, Clark just assumed Clark assumed a new identity and married Lois Lane and made it look like Clark was gone and like Clark had died and Superman had died and everything, and he just assumed another identity and was able to start his life with Lois. He wound up getting married and having a kid. And the kid wound up exhibiting superpowers, so you know there was going to be another Superman. Eventually. When he grew up, he was going to end up assuming his dad's role as Superman. But he didn't do, and as I said, Metro Man did something similarly, but the thing with Metro Man is, he faked his death and let the villain run rampant all over the city. You don't do that. No hero has ever done that unless they truly got killed in battle. when Superman died in Superman 75, he went down in battle along with the monster. He died taking the monster down. And as I said about the whole whatever happened to the Man of Tomorrow thing, he faked his death only after the villain was defeated. All the villains were defeated, and he decided to retire. And made it look like he died in battle with the villain. But he didn't leave the world unprotected like Metro Man did. And of course, the whole point of the movie was that the villain showed that there was more to him than just being a villain, and that he'd switch. It was to make him switch sides. I mean, first he felt empty, and then created this new hero, and the hero wound up being a gigantic, colossal jerk, and wound up turning into the villain himself. They look at him. He tells him the good will rise up against it, and basically he ends up turning to good and all that, and ends up becoming the new city's hero. But still, the whole thing with Metro Man is that he was selfish. He wound up being a selfish egomaniac and a jerk. He let the city go unprotected because he got tired. So he let the villain win. No good hero would ever do that. Would ever let the villain just say back like, okay, you win, I quit. No villain would ever do that. Superman would never do that. Batman would never do that. He'd die in battle first. Truly die in battle, not fake his death. And to me, that's why Metro Man is a horrible hero. Because he's a selfish glory hog. Even as a kid in that movie. Even as a baby. He was a selfish jerk. And that's why he's number one on my list. But, as I said, he's not the only number one on my list. My other number one list comes actually from the show South Park. One of my favorite episodes, actually. The episode, three-part trilogy, Coon and Friends. There is a hero in that one that looks also very similar to a certain Man of Steel. He flies around and everything. He looks like a certain, like I said, he looks like a certain Man of Steel, and his name is Captain Hindsight. This is probably the lamest superhero I've ever seen. Non-hero, you might as well say. Not unsuper, not hero I've ever seen. You've got a guy that all he does is fly around, and he has like perfect 20/20 hindsight. All he does is go around and tell people right in the middle of the disaster, instead of flying right in and start saving people, and they give him the situation and everything, instead of flying right in and starting to save people and get people to safety and everything, what the first thing he does, he stands there and he evaluates and says, you should have done this here, you should have done that better there, you should have done that there. They're like, you're right, we should have done that. And they're like, well, my work is done, and flies off. My work is done, I have to go. Flies off. And what does everybody do? Leads to disaster. Like particularly when he first appears, the first time he appears in the episode, he says all that, and all of a sudden they're like, well, let's pack it up and go. And all the news crews and all the fire trucks, they pack up and leave, and 14 people wind up dying with a building burning up. What kind of hero does that? All he does is just act like a judgmental jerk. Saying, you should have done this here instead of doing this here, and you should have done that, you should have used this there instead of that there, and all that stuff. And he winds up looking like a selfish, judgmental jerk, and nobody does anything. And they think he's the world's greatest hero and protector. What is that? And to me, perfect 20/20 hindsight ought to keep you on the, I mean, you should tell them that afterwards. I mean, what's the point of flying? You can't fly up there and save somebody. You just fly around and tell people how they should have done something better. That's stupid. And to me, that's what makes Captain Hindsight probably the worst superhero, other than make him the worst superhero ever. Right up there with Metro Man. He's a selfish, self-righteous jerk. But what do y'all think? Y'all agree with this list? Y'all disagree with this list? Is there any I missed? Let me know. As always, drop me a comment in the comment box below. I would love to hear y'all comments on this. And I probably should have said this at the top of the show. This is a two-part show. This is a two-part show. This episode is the worst superheroes ever. Next week is going to be the worst supervillains ever. So stay tuned for that. That's going to be a lot of fun also. So stay tuned. So tune in next week for that. But for now, that's all for this week's edition of Mr. J's Geek Corner. And as always, y'all have any kind of comments about the show whatsoever, drop me a comment in the comment box. Like, subscribe, share with all your friends, tell all your friends. Y'all have any ideas of things you want to hear me talk about or any subjects you want me to discuss on the show, drop me a comment in the comment box. I'm always looking for fresh, new ideas for things to talk about on the show. So drop me a comment, and you never know when it may be made into an edition of Mr. J's Geek Corner. So definitely drop me a comment. I would love to hear from you. I would love to hear your ideas. And I'll see y'all next time.